Hello, dear friends. I only visited a municipal dog pound once in my life, and I came out crying, just like when I saw beggars sleeping under a bridge in winter. Until when? Opinion piece. Animal liberation. It's humankind liberation. Animal rights. Animals are not things. Barbarities of the West. Cruelty to living beings. They are sentient beings. Francis of Assisi called them brothers. Animal law is taught at university. All living beings have the same right to exist. Let's start. A country's culture is measured by the kind way it treats its animal, and in Spain there is excess of cruelty and a lack of compassion. Our pets are masters of the unconditional love that is lacking in humans. They are more generous and less selfish than we are. They are sentient beings with souls and emotions who suffer just like us, and who have the right to eat every day just like us. Children perceive this truth directly, without the need for convincing them. Cruelty to animals is a psychological warning about the possible existence of other forms of violence, and is one of the signs of psychopathy. Among the most common characteristics is an inferiority complex. Animal cruelty is one of the antisocial behaviors related to behavioral disorders during childhood. Victims of family violence are more likely to experience or witness animal abuse. Cats and dogs love humans who treat them with affection, and run away from those who despise them because they were mistreated. A domestic feline is a magical being of high consciousness that protects humans from rodents, and also gives spiritual protections with generosity. It doesn't hurt anyone that a stray kitten protected by law can eat every day unless they have to pay for the food, or it bothers them to see it because they are a dark and evil person. How long are we going to live with anti-human beings? They have a lot to learn, and what you don't learn the easy way, life teaches you the hard way. Traditions. In Thailand, Buddhist monks believe that cats are enlightened beings and consider them sacred, just as in ancient Egypt. Muslims respect cats because the Prophet Muhammad loved cats and delivered his sermons with his favorite cat clutched to his chest. Legend has it that Jesus also had cats and loved them dearly. Saint Francis of Assisi called animals brothers instead of calling them beasts, because they are divine creatures. In quotes. Praise be to you, my Lord, in all your creatures to whom you give sustenance. Hindu and Buddhist societies, since the 3rd century before Christ, proclaimed a broad vegetarianism referring to the principle of ahimsa, the principle of non-violence, because of the moral equivalence of animals and humans. Some kings built hospitals for sick animals. Killing a cow was as serious a crime as killing a high-caste man. Killing a dog as serious as killing an untouchable. Paul of Tarsus pointed out that animal flesh is not an essential food for human beings, for, as he relates in Corinthians 8:13, if any food is an occasion for my brother's fall, I will never taste meat, lest he fall. Prior to this phrase in Corinthians 8:8, Paul Paul says that neither by not eating are we less, nor by eating are we more, implying that it is not necessary to eat animal flesh. He also repeats this in Romans 14:21. Laws. The first known laws were passed in Ireland in 1635, prohibiting the shearing of wool from sheep and the tying of plugs to horses' tails on the grounds of cruelty to the animal. Schopenhauer's approach has characterized the animal rights movement and the legislation of the protection of animal interests in the 19th century until the middle of the 20th century. According to Arthur Schopenhauer, 1859, in quotes, the supposed absence of animal rights, the zoanthropy that our actions towards them have no moral relevance or, as it is said in ethical language, no duty towards the creature, is one of the barbarities of the West whose origin is Judaism. Some authors advocate an analogy of the treatment of animals with the Jewish Holocaust, such as Peda's publication, The Holocaust on Your Plate, shows images of Jews in concentration camps compared to mistreated animals. The chairwoman says the following: in the concentration camps, 6 million Jews were annihilated, but 6 million chickens will die this year in slaughterhouses. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals is an organization for the rights of living creatures, based in the US and with 3 million members and supporters. PETA is the largest animal rights group in the world. The Partido Animalista con el Medio Ambiente, Animalist Party with Environment, is a Spanish political party founded in 2003 that fights for animal rights, the environment, and social justice. Rights. A legal and jurisprudential theory that describes inherent rights as associated with ecosystems and species, similar to the concept of fundamental human rights, is known as rights of nature or rights of the earth. Animal law is currently taught at 100 US law schools, including Harvard, Stanford, UCLA, Northwestern, Michigan, and Duke. More and more state and local bar associations have animal law committees. Animal rights are the ideas postulated by schools of thought that animal nature, regardless of species, should be a subject of law in legal systems, where until now this category has only belonged to natural and legal persons, it is to say humans, although historically various groups of humans have also been disenfranchised and Humankind has always accorded special consideration to certain animals, which varies greatly depending on the culture, environment, or location, from the use of animals in the service of humans, to animal welfare, to the ethical treatment of animals as deserving of rights traditionally accorded to humans. It is postulated that all animals are born equal before life and have rights that must be respected, one of the most relevant being the right to freedom from humiliation or suffering attributable to discriminatory and arbitrary behavior on the part of humans. Movement. The animal liberation movement, also known as the Animal Liberation and Species Abolitionist Movement of the World, or simply the Animal Movement, is a global movement of activists, academics, artists, campaigns, and organized groups that oppose the use of animals for research, food, entertainment, leather, wool, fur, and silk. The overall aim of the movement is to eradicate speciesism, which they consider anthropocentric. It is to say, the negative discrimination against non-human animals, generated by the fact that they belong to a species other than humans. Bioethics is the branch of ethics dedicated to promoting principles for the most appropriate conduct of human beings with respect to life, both human life and other living beings, as well as the environment in which acceptable conditions for life can be found. Biocentrism is a term that appeared in the 70s to designate a moral theory that affirms that every living being deserves moral respect. Originally associated with deep ecology, biocentrism claims the primordial value of life. It proposes that all living beings have the same right to exist, to develop and to express themselves autonomously, and deserve the same respect as having the same value. It advocates that humankind's activity should have as little impact as possible on other species and on the planet itself. Biocentrism explains that what we perceive as reality is a process that requires the participation of consciousness. It bases its ideology on the concepts of interaction, co-evolution, the complexity of relations between species, non-discrimination, the treatment of animals, the culture of the living, the interactivity of the sexes, participatory democracy, ecological agriculture, and the use of renewable energies. Reset news. The swamp is almost dry. What's left is mud. Powell tells Congress that rates will be higher than expected. The stock market skydid on Tuesday. The Dow Jones falls 575 points. Gold ends sharply lower. Wells Fargo ATMs have been disappearing in California. Stephen Van Meter believes an international currency crisis threatens the economic collapse of several countries. Central banks suffer staggering losses and raise rates. What happens next will shock the world. If in his latest speech, Trump sent mysterious codes to the coalition. Behind the scenes, the military is divided. The generals will make the biggest leap of their lives to guarantee the Constitution. The White Hats are preparing to expose hidden files. Before the summer, Musk will expose a huge wave of scandalous information. If anyone says there is no such thing as space weapons, ask about the 16,000 patents that exist for satellites and space weapons. National security forbids talking about it. Juan Osabin believes that George Soros has just passed away, according to his sources. Soros-linked think tank in India stripped off its license. Millions of people in China are banned from traveling by plane or train because of their social credit rating is too low. Argentina is to manufacture and sell Chinese fighter jets to be sold in Latin America. Curious. The genome of the Chernobyl wild dogs acquired a unique structure. New plastic caused disease affecting seabeds. David plasticosis. Digestive tracts affected by ingestion of debris, increasing risks of infection and loss of ability to feed. Egypt. A mysterious red glass vase, when full of water, weighted the same as when empty. Scientists reveal hidden corridor in the Great Pyramid of Giza. A 9-meter-long hidden corridor was discovered near the main entrance of the Great Pyramid of Giza, which could lead to new discoveries. According to David Wilcock, the pyramid's timeline includes precise dates with timestamps for World War I, World War II, 9/11, the 2008 economic collapse, and others. The symbolism of the new corridor could be enormous. India. An Indian text tells in detail how aircraft were used to launch a weapon that devastated 3 cities. The story resembles the explosion of an atomic bomb. According to Jim Stone, the destruction of Western civilization began after the production and use of nuclear weapons. He believes there is an inhabited area on Saturn and they don't want us to visit them with nuclear weapons. Have the ancient gods returned? Asks Naomi Wolf. According to Elena Danam, Enki has returned with our original DNA template to reactivate and repair it. The ancient builder race is manifesting again. Man-made structures on the lunar surface. Author and researcher specializing in ancient artifacts on the Moon and Mars, Mike Barra presents a video about the many man-made structures scattered across the lunar surface that NASA tried to hide. Someone once occupied our moon and may still be there, living beneath its surface. The second coming of the Nephilim, according to Thomas Horn. Ancient records from the history of all the great civilizations spoke of beings descending from the sky and using human and animal DNA to create giant offspring. Encounter with space arcs and their curtains on Mount Fuji and Mauna Kea volcanoes, according to Dr. Michael Sala. Antarctica, according to Juan Osabin. A breakthrough process began in the early 1800s, with industrialization from Germany going to Argentina and beginning their development of other sciences that led to flying vehicles and travel to Antarctica. Underneath the ice, 2 miles thick, is an area 1.5 times the size of North America. Underneath the ice, you have flowing rivers and lush lakes because it is thermally heated by underground geysers. The Nazis sent 42,000 women to Antarctica to support the German army there in 1942. There is no record of them ever returning. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.